Hi everyone, Janet Robinson here. I have a very special surprise for you today. I've invited two of my favorite normies, Tommy Bennett and Lilly Jones, to join us for something brand new. We're calling it the Deep Dive, and they're going to help us unpack all the mysteries from uncomfortable theories. So get cozy, grab a mug of tea, and let's welcome them to the family. Tommy, Lilly, the floor is yours.
I want you to try a little thought experiment with me. It's a bit personal, but just go with it. Think about the last time you did something truly selfless.
Okay.
Maybe you donated to a GoFundMe for a total stranger. Maybe you stopped to help someone change a tire in the pouring rain when you were already late. Or maybe it's just that, overwhelming, irrational love you feel when you look at your family.
Yeah, it's a very distinct feeling. It's warm. It feels human.
It is what we think of as human. We define ourselves by that empathy. But I have a question for you, and fair warning, this is one of those questions that's going to stick with you at 3 a.m.
Oh.
What if those feelings aren't choices you're making? What if that warm glow from charity isn't virtue, but a symptom?
A symptom of an infection.
That is the absolutely terrifying premise we're unpacking today. We're looking at a transcript from a program called Uncomfortable Theories by Janet Robinson, and the hypothesis on the table is called the kindness parasite.
And uncomfortable is definitely the right word. Because Robinson isn't just suggesting we have like a bug. She's suggesting that human morality, the very foundation of civilization, might be a survival mechanism.
But not for us?
Not for us. For a parasite living inside us.
It sounds like the plot of a B movie, right? The Body Snatchers. But our mission for this deep dive is to look at the actual biological receipts. We're going to look at mind control in nature, which is very, very real, and then apply that logic to us.
To answer a really specific question.
Is our civilization a testament to human ingenuity, or is it just a really elaborate farm, a parasite built to keep its cattle alive and compliant?
It's a heavy one. It really challenges the whole idea of free will.
Yep.
But to even start to answer it, we have to get away from the human world for a minute.
We're going to the rainforest.
We are. We need to talk about the carpenter ant.
Yes. Let me get this right. Ophiocordyceps unilateralis. This is where people start talking about zombie ants, and I think we've all seen that. But the details in the Robinson source are so much more specific, and frankly, way more disturbing.
Right, because this is the biological precedent.
Yeah.
We have to establish that chemical mind control is even possible. And if you don't think a fungus can, drive a living creature like a car, you have to look at Ophiocordyceps.
It hijacks them.
Totally hijacks them. It doesn't just kill the ant.
And the precision of it all is what really got me. I mean, it's not just making the ant stumble around or act aggressive. It's like it's executing a program, a very specific, timed program.
That's a great way to put it. Once the ant's infected, the fungus just starts pulling the strings. The ant leaves the colony, which is, rule number 1 of being an ant. Don't do that.
Right. Safety in numbers.
It wanders off alone.
Yeah.
And the source notes this incredible detail. It waits.
It waits for the sun.
Specifically for solar noon.
Not 11 a.m., not 1 o'clock. Solar noon.
Solar noon. Because the fungus needs a very specific temperature and humidity to reproduce. And it gets that when the sun is directly overhead. It steers the ant up to about 25 centimeters off the forest floor.
And it's not just any leaf.
No, finds a north-facing leaf. A north-facing leaf. Think about the complexity of that. This fungus is piloting an insect to a specific altitude and a specific compass orientation.
That's just wild. It's like a tiny GPS system embedded in a spore.
It really is. And once the ant is in position, the fungus triggers what they call the death grip. The ant's mandibles clamp onto the leaf vein with so much force it can't let go, and then it dies.
And then the fungus sprouts out of its head to rain spores down on the colony below. But there was a detail in the Robinson transcript, and I think this is crucial for the kindness hypothesis later. It's about where the fungus actually is inside the ant.
This is the part that blows my mind. For years, biologists just assumed the fungus was in the ant's brain. I mean, it makes sense, right? Go for the control center. But the recent microscopy cited in the source, it shows the fungus never enters the brain.
It leaves the brain completely intact.
Completely. The fungus invades the muscle fibers. It releases these bioactive compounds to physically puppet the limbs from the outside. It's essentially cutting the phone lines between the brain and the muscles.
So the ant is conscious. It's aware.
The implication is that, yes, it's likely fully conscious, a prisoner in its own body.
Oh, I hate that.
It's watching itself leave home, climb that leaf, trying to stop, but its legs just keep moving.
That is the stuff of nightmares. It's like driving the car from the back seat while the driver is tied up in the front.
A perfect analogy.
Aww.
So, okay, we've established nature has the toolkit for this. Chemical hijacking, no brain required.
Yeah.
But critic will say, sure, an ant. Ants are simple. You can't do that to a mammal. We're way too complex.
Which brings us to the rat and the cat and Toxoplasma gondii. Now we are moving up the food chain.
And a lot closer to home. Toxoplasma is a parasite that can infect almost any warm-blooded animal you can think of. But, and this is the key, it can only sexually reproduce inside the gut of a cat.
So it has a final destination. If it ends up in a rat, it's stuck, it's hit a dead end, and it needs to get from that rat into a cat. But rats are hardwired. Millions of years of evolution telling them, smell cat, run.
Right. Fear of your main predator is probably the most basic survival instinct there is. So Toxoplasma performs what is basically a neurochemical lobotomy.
It doesn't just numb the fear.
It completely rewrites the software and
Yeah.
flips the polarity of the response. The infected rat isn't just unafraid, it becomes attracted to the smell of cat urine.
You're kidding me.
No, the parasite actually stimulates the sexual arousal pathways in the rat's brain when it smells its predator.
That is diabolical. It turns fear into love. It makes the survival instinct a suicide mission.
And the rat just walks right into the cat's mouth. The parasite completes its life cycle. You use the rat's own brain chemistry against it.
Okay, so let's connect the dots. We have ants being driven like puppets. We have rats falling in love with their killers because a parasite tweaked their dopamine. Now we have to turn the mirror on us. Because Toxoplasma isn't just a rat problem.
No, it is not. And this is the statistic that usually makes people kind of sit up straight. The source material says roughly 1/3 of the human population is currently infected with Toxoplasma gondii.
1/3. That's over 2 billion people walking around with these cysts in their brains right now.
I think most people hear that and they brush it off. Oh, I have a cat. I probably have it. I feel fine. But the Robinson transcript suggests it's not quite as harmless as we think.
No, we're not immune to the manipulation. We see correlations that are really hard to ignore. We know Toxoplasma messes with dopamine levels. Infected people have higher rates of traffic accidents, probably from slower reaction times or just increased risk-taking.
And there are strong links to schizophrenia and bipolar disorder too, right?
Very strong. The hardware is definitely being tampered with. So this is the big pivot for the deep dive. If parasites can make ants climb leaves and rats love cats, what are they making us do?
And that's where we get to the kindness hypothesis.
This is the idea that our morality isn't some high-minded spiritual achievement, but a biological hack. And to really get this, we have to first understand why kindness is kind of weird from a purely evolutionary standpoint.
It's a real puzzle, biologically, I mean. We need to talk about the free rider problem and just the basic rules of natural selection. In a survival scenario, resources are scarce.
Right.
If I have food and you don't, the best strategy for my genes to survive is for me to eat all of it.
Because if I give it to you, I have less energy, I might die, my genes don't get passed on, so the selfish gene should always win out. The nice guy dies first.
Exactly. Evolution should, in theory, weed out pure altruism. And yet, humans are just aggressively social. We share food, we care for the sick, we sacrifice for total strangers. Biologists have been trying to explain this for decades because, on paper, for the individual, it's a terrible strategy.
Unless there's a third party involved. A third party that actually benefits from us all being nice to each other.
That is Robinson's argument, exactly. She suggests that an ancient symbiotic organism infected early hominids. Now think about what a parasite needs. If it infects a host that's solitary, a lone wolf, well, it's stuck. It can't spread.
It just dies with the host. So for the parasite to win, it needs hosts that cuddle up. It needs us to share living spaces, share food, live in big, dense packs. It needs a city.
It needs a herd. So natural selection would favor any parasite that could manipulate its host into wanting to be social. The theory is this organism evolved to basically gamify our behavior.
So it's training us like a dog.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah.
It releases dopamine. That's the pleasure chemical when we do something pro-social. You share your food. Here's a little chemical reward. You hug someone. Here's a rush of oxytocin. But it also has a stick. You hurt someone in your tribe. Here's a dose of guilt, of anxiety. It feels bad.
So civilization, our cities, our laws, our art, it's all just a side effect. We built all of this because a parasite needed a high-density petri dish to spread.
In this model.
Yeah.
Yes, we get culture as a biological bribe. who are being paid in good feelings to live in conditions that favor the parasite.
Wow. That is incredibly humbling. It kind of takes the romance out of it all. But let's look at the evidence. Is this just a fun thought experiment, or is there actual chemistry here? The source mentions some recent studies.
This is where it gets really tangible. We've known for a while that toxoplasma raises dopamine.
Yeah.
But we always just assumed it was, irritating the brain into making it, like how dust makes your eye water.
The side effect.
Right. But newer research cited suggests some of these parasites actually have the genes to make an enzyme called tyrosine hydroxylase.
And for those of us who skipped organic chemistry?
This is the key enzyme you need to manufacture dopamine.
Yeah.
It means the parasites aren't just asking our bodies to make it. They're making it themselves. They're bringing their own supply and pumping it right into our brains.
That changes everything. That's not a side effect. That's direct intervention. It's like someone is slipping a pill into your drink, but they're doing it from the inside 24/7.
And it's not unprecedented. Remember the cordyceps fungus? It secretes all sorts of neuroactive compounds. Nature has a huge pharmacy for mind control. It's not magic, it's chemistry.
The source also brings up some really weird statistical correlations in humans. The one about entrepreneurship, that one made me laugh, but then it really made me think.
It's fascinating, right? Infected people are 1.7 times more likely to major in business and entrepreneurship.
Which sounds ridiculous at first. Like, are parasites capitalists? But when you think about the risks,
That's the key. Entrepreneurship requires you to suppress your fear of failure, and it requires a ton of social networking. You have to be less fearful and more pro-social. Well, if a parasite is tuning you that way, like the rat, you might get a CEO.
or on the other end of the spectrum, you get the correlation with bipolar disorder.
Which is defined by extreme swings, right? Manic, high energy, almost hyper empathy states, followed by depressive detachment. It looks an awful lot like a chemical regulation system that's being hijacked. The dopamine tap is being cranked open and then slammed shut.
Okay, I want to get to what I think is the most controversial part of the Robinson transcript. Her theory about sociopathy. This really flipped the whole script for me.
It's a very provocative idea. Our normal view of sociopathy or antisocial personality disorder is that it's a pathology. We see those people as broken because they don't have empathy or guilt. It's a deficit.
But the kindness parasite theory suggests the exact opposite.
Right. If the default setting for evolution is survival of the fittest, pure selfishness, then a sociopath isn't broken. They're just not infected.
They're running the factory settings.
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah.
They're operating on pure, unadulterated human instinct, self-preservation, resource acquisition, without that parasitic software overlay that forces us to be nice. They are the wild type human.
So the people we think of as saints, the empaths, the people who literally feel the pain of others, they might just be the ones with the heaviest parasitic load.
Their systems are flooded with these manipulation chemicals. They're running the parasites program at full volume to make sure they take care of the herd, no matter the personal cost.
Right.
It totally redefines what we mean by good.
It really does. But there's a dark side to this that we have to talk about. If we're being manipulated to be kind, why is the world so violent? Why do we have war and genocide? Shouldn't we all just be holding hands?
This is the critical nuance. And it brings us back to the rat. Remember, the rat doesn't lose all fear. It only loses the fear of the cat. The manipulation is targeted.
It's selective.
Exactly. The parasite needs its local group of hosts to survive and dominate. It needs your tribe, your village to be strong. So it floods you with empathy for your in-group, your family, your neighbors, people who fly your flag.
It binds you to them.
But for the out-group, the competitors,
The empathy just shuts off.
it shuts off or even inverts into aggression. Because if another tribe takes your resources, the parasite inside you might die out.
So being aggressive toward outsiders is actually good for my parasite.
It's a survival strategy. And this explains that central contradiction of human history. How could we be such loving parents and neighbors, but then go commit the most horrific atrocities against people just across a border? We dehumanize them.
Because the parasite only wants us to cooperate with the carriers right next to us. That explains tribalism, politics, everything.
The source argues this isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. It's exactly how you design a system if you wanted your population to take over a planet. You create hyper-cooperative internal units that are ruthlessly aggressive to outsiders.
Man, okay, so we have a motive, a method, a precedent. Who's the suspect? Is toxoplasma the mastermind here?
Well, Robinson gives us a checklist. The kindness parasite would need to be ancient, affect neurotransmitters like dopamine, influence social behavior, and be incredibly widespread.
Toxoplasma checks all those boxes.
It absolutely does. It's the prime suspect. But the source also offers another idea that I find even more compelling: the ghost theory.
The idea that the parasite might actually be gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Evolutionarily, sometimes a host and a parasite become so intertwined they just merge.
Yeah.
It's possible an organism infected us millions of years ago, inserted its genetic material right into our own DNA. It's a real process called horizontal gene transfer, and then just died out as a separate creature.
So we're running legacy software from a developer that doesn't exist anymore.
We have a precedent for that in our own cells. Our mitochondria used to be separate bacteria. Now they're just part of us. They power us. The kindness parasite might have done the same thing. It became our conscience.
So whether it's an active infection like toxoplasma or a ghost in our genome, the result is the same. Human nature might not be entirely natural.
It really challenges our whole concept of the self.
Which brings us to the big philosophical question the source asks at the end. Does it matter? If I help someone across the street because I'm a good person, or because a microbe is squeezing a dopamine sponge in my brain, I mean, the person still gets across the street.
It's the ultimate free will versus determinism question.
Yeah.
And from a practical day-to-day standpoint, no, it doesn't really matter. The society we built is real. The love you feel for your family feels real.
The steak still tastes juicy, even if it's code from the Matrix.
Exactly. But it does, I don't know, it bruises the ego a bit, doesn't it? We like to think we're the captains of our own souls. We want to take credit for our virtues, to believe we choose to be good.
And acknowledging that our best qualities might just be a biological compulsion is, well, it's uncomfortable.
It leaves you with that last thought from the source. Sometimes the most human thing about us might not be human at all.
It definitely changes how you see the world. Next time you feel that warm glow of charity, you have to stop and ask, is that me talking?
Or is that the passenger?
I am definitely going to be looking at my cat differently tonight. I'm probably overanalyzing every nice thing I do for the next month.
As you should. A little skepticism is healthy. Unless, the parasite tells you otherwise.
That's it for this deep dive into the kindness parasite. Thanks for letting us completely ruin your sense of free will today. We'll see you next time.
Stay curious. And maybe wash your hands.